Hey everyone, welcome back to the Not Just Politics podcast. The following is a conversation with Marley Parker, Christian Monteau, and Amy Scoggins. They are all members of the executive board of the Inclusive Student Leadership Foundation at Point Park University. We sat down to discuss their Point Park experiences, the difficulties of running clubs as student organization leaders, politics, and more. To support the show, check out links for social medias in the description, and enjoy. Hello, all three of you. Hello.
Hey.
Thank you for joining us.
Of course.
Anytime.
Thank you for having us.
So I want to get everything straight. Marley, you are a psych major.
Yes.
Christian, you are a multimedia major. Amy, you're a theater arts major.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what's the plan? Is there a plan for any of that? Starting with whoever.
Yes, for me.
Okay.
I currently have an internship with the Citizen Science Lab, and I do marketing for them. So I kind of already have a confirmed job if I want it after I graduate. So I plan on staying in the city for a minute and just like building my portfolio, working with like the Warhol, One Hood, just different organizations around the city.
Awesome.
Yeah, for now.
Okay.
Can't really have a plan when you're a theater major. You just have to hope that people will hire you.
Right.
And like my degree is like a lot of like different parts of theater, so I'm still trying to figure out like what I like the most.
Okay.
Kind of why I'm in college.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah. Well, my ultimate plan is to go to grad school. I'm going to get my master's and my doctorate in psychology, ideally clinical psychology. But all my internships have not been psychology related, and I've found a lot of joy in them. I do a lot of diversity, equity, inclusion work off campus and outside of Point Park. I'm doing a community organization internship this summer, doing anti-racist work, and I'm also a political organizer. So I'm emailing people to try to get them to donate money to different Democrats. So I'm really enjoying both of them. So now I'm kind of like figuring it out as I go.
I feel like I look like
Okay.
a mess compared to you guys.
I mean, you're still a sophomore. You still
It's
got
true.
time.
Yeah, you have time.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have it figured out. And how did all three of you get involved with ISLA?
Oh,
For the people that don't know.
Michael Thornhill.
Michael Thornhill.
Okay.
Thornhill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we all like knew Michael. Like I walked into his office and I was like, "Hey, I did all of this DEI racism awareness work with white people at my high school, and I would love to like carry it into college." Like I just walked into his office freshman year, and I was like, "Hey, this is my story," and he was like, "I have a place for you."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I kind of connected with him looking for an advisor for my organization that I had started sophomore year, ARC. It was about creating a more inclusive, creative community on campus because our school is very bland, neutral, green, tannish colors. Nothing's on our wall, and I feel like it doesn't really celebrate the artists at our school and the diverse artists that are at our school.
Yeah.
So doing that work, Michael's like, "Hey, you're doing good things. There's this program and organization that I want to start, and I think you'll be good on it." And there's Amy. Amy was a big name that he shouted, and Marley came in. He can.
Yeah, last year I was the DEI chair for Strong Women, Strong Girls, and I needed help coordinating like an event, and I went to him, and he helped me. And then I became a peer educator in the Office of Equity and Inclusion, so I kind of just spent the whole year with Michael doing different diversity work, and that carried into this year where he said, like, if you want to be a peer educator, you can, but there's this other organization I think your skill set would be really valuable in. And that's how I met Christian and Amy.
Yeah.
And Strong Women, Strong Girls, that's a national organization, right?
Yes, they're a national nonprofit.
Okay. And you have a chapter.
Yeah,
You
here at Point
you
Park.
lead that chapter?
Currently, yes. This
Okay.
year, I'm chapter director.
Gotcha.
But last year, I did DEI for them.
Okay. Cool. And I went to the Deconstructing Karen event. I thought it was great. I thought it was something that, like, the topic is obviously important, but just the idea of getting students together in a room like that for something, I think is something that every school, I think School of Comp should do that. School of, like, everyone should just get all the students in the same place, because honestly, I don't know that many other people in my major. I don't know that many other people at the school in general. So I just thought that was cool, like having, what is that called? COPA something?
A common hour.
A common hour, yeah.
Yeah.
That should just be a thing that everybody should do.
Yeah.
I think that would be cool, because I would definitely go to it. And then if it was just, I don't know what it would be based on for the other schools, but Yeah, I thought the Deconstructing Karen event was interesting. I didn't know it was a documentary. I thought it was like an open forum discussion. I was like, oh, I'll go to this. And then I didn't know that it was a documentary. I'd never seen it. It was interesting. It was cool.
Yeah.
Who came up with the idea for that event?
It was definitely Michael Thornhill's like idea, but it like coincided with, as education and advocacy director, like what I wanted to do in like focusing anti-racism work on like white people have a responsibility, was like sort of like the theme of my programming. And so he was like, hey, there's this documentary and there's this book. And so we like surrounded that material programming.
That book's on my Audible list.
Yeah.
It's a
It's
fantastic
a
book.
very long list that I will never get through, but it is on my. I think there's 2 more before I get to that one, and then it's gonna be that one. But I was interested. I am interested in listening to it, so I'm going to. But yeah, I thought it was interesting. I thought that's a really. I'm curious about. I guess because I walked into like when that documentary started, I was a little bit. I was just curious about the intentions of Regina and Syra, who are the women that were running the event. I was curious about what they, because at the beginning I didn't know what their end goal was. Like I didn't know what, like where they were going with that whole thing. And I don't know. I guess I have a. I guess if I would have put myself in that situation, I would have taken a much different approach than they did to getting to that answer. But it was interesting to see how they navigated that space with all those different women at that table. And it was actually really interesting to hear just all of the, I don't remember any of the women's names, but when they brought up, like when the one lady brought up like the love is love thing, and the other woman that voted for Trump like called her out on it. I was like, I was not expecting that, but that was kind of interesting too. I didn't expect that coming from her, but yeah, it was just really cool. I enjoyed it. I wanted to rewatch it before today, but finals.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Didn't
feel
get a
you.
chance.
Feel you there.
I didn't get a chance.
I'm curious, what would have been your approach to that dinner?
So I don't think that. So it was funny when we were at that event. A lot of people in the auditorium were like, "Oh, the women are being really combative towards the host," and to me, I wasn't surprised at all why they were combative, because I thought that I thought that the opening question was kind of crazy. Like just starting off by asking these women, "Are you racist?" That is to me, that's just. I mean, that's going to put me on the defensive immediately. So I was just not like critical, but I was just curious, like what that conversation looked like if. And I do understand like why Regina opened up with that question. Like she's dealing with decades of just disappointment and feeling betrayed and feeling not listened to. So I can understand that approach of. It almost seemed like she was talking to her friends that fucked up, and she was just trying to be real with them and saying like, you're doing fucked up shit, and I'm just gonna tell you at this point because you haven't listened to me when I've tried to be nice.
Right.
But I guess I just haven't gotten to that point yet.
Yeah, because I think it's really brave of her to even throw that question.
I
out there.
absolutely agree. I have not gotten to that point yet, so I would have taken the other approach. But then again, it's like she's gone through that her whole life and it hasn't gotten her anything. So I don't blame her for that. But I just. Not that I disagreed with it. It just seemed like it would put people in a position where that conversation, there was a lot of people just interrupting each other. That part just drove me crazy.
Yeah.
It was like, and not even the participants interrupting the host, the participants interrupted each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where I did wish that the 2 hosts would have stepped in and like let everybody finish a thought. Because I feel like no one finished the thought for like half of that entire thing.
I mean, you got to look at it too for production wise. They probably had a dinner longer than what we saw edited.
Oh, of course, yeah. They cut down a lot of that, I'd imagine. Now I want to see a director's cut now that you say that. A director's cut's probably insane.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't even think about that. They cut out a lot of shit, probably.
That's also, we just found out that was their 3rd dinner. Like
Really?
they weren't like,
Because
they weren't very established. That was like the 3rd dinner that they held.
Okay, so I'd be curious to see what it looks like now.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see if any of the approach has shifted or if
I
any
don't
of
think
that-
so though, because like a whole point of the book is like we've been nice for years and years and years, and it hasn't worked. So like at this point, like one of the examples that they bring up is if you're a woman and your husband abused you, you wouldn't come back to him and tell him that he did something wrong while like rubbing his shoulders. That's the example that they bring up. Yeah.
That's very true. Yeah, and I guess looking at it from that perspective, it's totally understandable that that's the approach you would have after all those years of going through that. I guess that's just like, I haven't gotten to that point. So that's where, like, whenever I'm in discussions like that with the nonprofit that I work for, we take a very different approach. But also the oldest person leading that organization is 25 years old. So
Oh wow.
nobody's really had that life experience yet.
Yeah.
So there's a very different approach, and that's something that I've adopted. But so I was just curious to see what that conversation would have looked like with a different approach. But then again, Regina probably knows what it would have gone like, and she's been through that, and that hasn't been very pleasant for her, which is very understandable.
Well, and it's difficult, like the everything that we're trying to get done with ISLA, like there's a line of, okay, how do we make sure that these people in the higher ups don't get on the defensive when we're telling them that they're doing something quote unquote wrong, that we want to change something, because they have the power to help us change that thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how do we make sure they're not on the defensive and they like aren't on our side at all, but still like get the shit done that we want to get done?
We've had meetings going over like word for word what our tones are going to be, what are we specifically going to bring up, how are we going to bring it up before we even, like sometimes these conversations we're supposed to have with these higher ups are like 10 minutes and we'll have like an hour-long meeting to go through like what's the ultimate goal, how do we need to portray that, and what needs to be said to make sure that happens.
Yeah, to a certain extent, we have to be direct because no one else is holding them accountable other than us students.
That's very smart. I feel like a lot of people should probably do that.
Meeting before the meeting.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Well, again, I'm not trying to call anybody out. I know a lot of people at SGA, they are wonderful. But I know whenever the OEI thing happened last semester, and I wasn't in the room, so I can't say that I saw this, but I heard that they were prepared to walk into that meeting with the administrative really combative. They were like, oh, go give him hell and everything. And I'm like, oh, that's not going to get anything done.
Yeah.
It's just not. Like, you have to play the game a little bit, even though you're pissed off.
Yeah.
Like, we would love to be combative and just go in and just, like, because a lot of times we have a lot of anger. And when we try to plan things and try to execute things, there is a lot of anger whenever we're trying to figure it out. And I think in a dream world, we would be able to go in and just, like, tell them how we feel and just do what we need to do. But it's so unrealistic to get what we actually want. We have to play the game. We have to, like, butter them up a little bit, make sure they feel good about themselves, and then be like, now this is what we think we should also do.
Yeah.
But combativeness, at least in a PWI like Point Park or an institution as big as Point Park, especially with higher ups, is not going to get you anywhere.
No, but it's kind of fun sometimes
Oh, it's
to like plan out the whole, like to go off and like to plan it out. It's kind of fun. Yeah, but it doesn't do anything.
And it burns you out.
Yeah.
Oh, it does for sure. Yep, it absolutely does. Yeah. So that's. Yeah, I haven't worked with the administration on anything yet. I haven't. I'm planning on it at some point, but
I think they would love it. They're trying to connect our schools right now. I feel like we just came out of a meeting with Palo about ISLA for the future for next semester. And there's really a conversation of really trying to improve campus life and actually make downtown Pittsburgh and downtown for us, because we're the only ones down here, more exciting, more fulfilling.
Yeah.
So
I planned for weeks to pitch the nonprofit that I'm running a chapter for here to Don Green, and then actually a week before Don Green was supposed to come on this show, he resigned. So we never got him.
Yeah.
And then it was like interim president for 3 weeks, nobody for another 2 weeks, and then this guy, and then Brisalis is here, and I just haven't had a chance to meet him or talk to him about anything yet.
Yeah.
That was a whole. I planned it out for so long, and it all just changed. So that's on the table for next semester. I have to go talk to him about the stuff that I'm doing here. Yeah. But what's the? Oh, now I'm too quiet. I was too loud. Now I'm too quiet. What's the big plan then for ISLA next year? Is the plan to expand it? or anything like that?
You tell us, Marley.
Yeah.
Oh, are you not allowed to say yet?
I think we're allowed to say it's
Oh,
not
yeah.
like top secret.
Okay.
But we're still like in the planning process of it.
Okay, if you don't want to give anything away or put anything out there, you don't have to.
I can still talk pretty
Yeah.
generally about it. The big thing we talked about was, since we're the inclusive student leaders, it was what truly is inclusivity and what does that mean on this campus. And we kind of interpreted that as like making the campus more inclusive, like among the student body. Right now, all the schools are very segregated. Usually, you kind of just stay with your department or your school, and that's it. Like, you're lucky if you have a couple friends who aren't in your major. So our goal is to bridge more departments together. Like, we would love to have like COPA people go to athletic games, or athletic people go to different COPA shows, or like I think there's a psychology like research symposium, like getting people to that too. So our ultimate goal is to bridge campus community better. And we think the best way to do that is through this like anti-racism DEI perspective of, why do you only hang out with people similar to you? Why are all your friends COPA people? Why are all your friends psychology people? So broadly speaking, that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
We would love to expand ISLA. We're hoping to add more positions, more paid positions. We're a little behind with everything. We've had a pretty hectic like 2 months.
Yeah.
Michael Thornhill just left.
I heard about that. That's so
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah,
I never got a chance to meet him. He seemed like a really great guy.
He was.
he was.
I mean, he's still in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like our offices were being shifted around. We were from one place, now we're in another place. And then Michael was our advisor, but now he's not, because he's not here at all. So there's a lot of just like,
Conversations that we still have to have, meetings that we have to have
Yep.
to
Yeah.
solidify everything.
but we have plans and we have goals, and I feel like they're pretty
Yeah. I think it's just
achievable.
building off of what we did this year.
Yeah.
It's really trying to connect to different schools and kind of look at the individual students and give them the support and resources that they need to finish out their careers here.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's also a thing. Marketing, a lot of the opportunities on campus, ISLA has been a good place to just like collaborate and market different events. Yeah.
Now, this is a question more for you specifically, but if you two have any thoughts, please jump in. Have you considered, because you mentioned that you've done a little bit of political organization, have you ever considered sort of bringing that into your work with ISLA, like starting, because we have no college Democrats. We have
Yeah.
no, like, I run the only 2 political organizations on this campus, and one of them's dormant. So it's
Yeah.
like no one to work with.
I know one idea we definitely had was how to be more of an active, like a participant in social justice issues. The issue we run into all the time are people are like, I love what you do. I love the work. Someone needs to do this work. But if you say, oh, like if you really want to support us, like here's our events, here's our pop-ups, like come by and come support us, and then they don't.
Yep. Yeah.
So what we really want to do is, how do we engage people to actually like not just say, I love that you're doing diversity work, and I support the diversity work, but like how do we get them to be a part of it? It's very hard.
That's-
Engagement on this campus is very low.
Yep.
People like on multiple fronts, like even through SWSG, like we only had like 10 freshmen this year that like stuck around the whole year.
That's a large number.
And that's a big number compared to a lot of
That's
other
a big number.
organizations, but it's lower than it's been in the past.
Right.
Like usually they have groups of 30 that stick around for 4
Really?
years. But this year it's higher than other clubs, but still not very high at all.
Like, if I could get 10 people, though, that still seems like a lot, just because no one can get anybody.
Yeah, it's very, because like people sign up for these things.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you do a call it like an organization
People are
fair,
interested.
people are interested. Like I know our email list is like 100 people long, and there's tons of people that come up to us wanting to be involved in ISLA, and we put them in email chains and we put them in reminds, and then they just don't show up.
Yeah.
When I was over at esports last week, and I was talking to our coach, he was saying that this is interesting. I think this might be true. That like the clubs have to start adapting to the fact that every single Point Park student is paying too much to be here, and they're overworked, and they're also
Yeah.
engaged in way too much stuff. So if they
Yeah.
want to be a part of a club, they have to want to make that a part of their daily
Yeah.
routine in order to actually show up for it. But they're
Yeah.
not just gonna like if you interrupt their daily lives with stuff, they're not going to show up to it because they just can't.
Yeah.
But I think every single club is struggling with that.
Yeah, because I know one of our ideas for next year was like, how do you like engage politically? How, if you do feel passionately, like with all the anti-trans bills going on, like there's protests you can join, there's people you can call, there's emails you can make. But it's just people just either don't know or they don't care enough to go the extra step and like make a phone call or donate some money to organizations that are actively like combating it.
We haven't held an event about that yet. We should. I want my Bridge chapter to collaborate with you guys on an event like that because if you know those students, you can send them our way. Like that's our job. We try to put people in rooms to have conversations about that stuff if they feel like they want to talk about it. We're not as much on like the we're not on the like activism side of like that's a different thing. But if they at least want to be in a room where they can have those conversations, that's what we do. I haven't touched that topic though, just because I feel like I need to get people warmed up to that to a certain extent because there really isn't. I don't know that many like openly political people on this campus. It's
There's
weird.
Very few, which was like for this past year was a election year for like, governor. Like we were at the Labor Day parade, me and my roommates. We saw Josh Shapiro and John Fennerin, and we were losing our mind. We were yelling, like, John! And there were so many other people that were just clapping and just like minding their business. And I was like, you guys don't understand like who's like 10 feet in front of us.
That's him right there.
But I think education is part of it too, because I'm not gonna lie, like I am honest with my board. I don't know everything about political
No, neither do I.
information. I'm like, Marley, what do I need to know?
One of our first events was a voting event.
It was.
We had a table in Village Park. We just had like donuts and hot chocolate and these like just little hot cards with information on like how do you vote if you're out of state, if how long do you need to like wait to get your like mail-in ballot, questions people have asked me. And like I'm not a political science major. I'm just someone who like pays attention to what goes on in the political world. So I don't know everything. But like we had like QR codes on these hot cards, and we got a lot of positive feedback from like you helped me figure out like I need to get my mail-in ballot that day to have it in on time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even at this point keep track with everything happening in the world of politics. It's too much.
It's
I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't. I keep up with like the things that are important to me, and even then sometimes I can't keep up with all of that just because it's all changing so fast. Yeah, I think that's cool. I think the voting event's a really good idea. We never. I mean, with my Forward Party chapter, I could have done something like that, but I'm not even running that anymore.
I feel like a good
That one died.
recipe for any type of engagement is music, a table, and some type of information to give. It at least brings people to be like, what's going on over there, you know?
Grab and go. Like people don't have to actually spend time there. They can just come, be like, this is cool, thank you. Take what they need to take and then
Make sure it's designed well so people want to see it.
Yeah, that's the tough part is that the entire point of my organization is to sit down and talk to people. Tabling setting is just tough to do. Yeah. But we've had a couple people come by and talk to us, but it's not been anything crazy. People usually just grab stuff and go.
Yeah.
That's usually what it is.
It's hard to keep people's attention for too long.
It is, yeah.
Which sucks because SWSG, like our current DEI chair, once a month we'll have conversations on race or gender, sexuality. We'll talk about different holidays. We'll talk about like implicit bias and inclusion. And some of like the best conversations I've had have been in our general meetings. And sometimes those general meetings are like 15 people, which obviously is not a bad number. That's a really good number.
I would love to get 15 people.
But in the past, like when I did DEI last year, there would be like groups of 30 and we'd be watching clips and we would have fantastic, I'm not sure if Amy, you were ever at any of those meetings.
Probably not. I tried to be in SWSG, but then the theater major took over my life.
Yeah, they own your soul at this point, and you just can't. Yeah, that's cool. I like that those conversations are happening. I was just curious though, because I do honestly feel like, and I think this is just by design, that I think this school has a pretty obvious political leaning. And then there's no openly political people to actually have those conversations. So I feel like that's kind of why I started doing what I did, just because I felt like those conversations weren't happening. But it's weird. I feel like there aren't a lot of political people, but there's also it's just weird.
I think there's like superficially political people. I
Yeah.
think they vote if they remember. If it's a major election, if we're talking presidential election, they probably voted and they
Yeah.
might have like watched the news. They know like who the candidates are. But like there's another primary happening in Allegheny County May 16th, and I'm willing to bet a lot of people.
No, I had no idea.
Yeah, they're
had
like
no idea.
county executives and county judges. There's another primary, and I think that's when we lose people. Is
Yeah.
like I know my one friend in November. She's like, "Wait, like who are you voting for governor though?" And I was like,
That's nobody's business.
"Like first of all, how do you not know? It's like November 6th.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're voting tomorrow. You didn't figure this out already?" But I think she just trusted that like I had a woke opinion, and if I voted for whoever, that meant that she
Ugh.
could vote for them too.
I'll be completely honest.
Like the trust in her friend.
I know. I love that she trusted me that much. But it was also like, where have you been for like the past month?
Mm.
It was pretty hard to avoid any ads.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't, but I'll be honest, I am one of those people.
Yeah, I am
I-
too.
I
I'm not
don't-
gonna lie.
I don't focus as much on the stuff that happens in like Washington as much
Yeah.
as I try to focus on just general like people one at a time.
Yeah. Well, I grew up, like my grandparents were activists in the 60s and 70s. Like my
Mhm.
grandma marched for Roe v. Wade in the 70s. My grandfather marched for civil rights in the 60s. Both my parents are also very politically active. And I think that's just like when we're talking about education. Like I grew up around it. I
Yeah.
grew up with these conversations. Like I've been having conversations about race since I was like 3. So for me, like it's not that big a deal, but I realize for a lot of people, like they don't have these conversations.
Mm-mm.
No.
Like I know one person I talked to in SWSG, she was like, the first time I ever talked about like transgender rights was in your DEI session. So
Yep.
she was a sophomore in
Dang.
college before she ever had that conversation with anyone. So
Yeah.
I fully understand that there's a lot like it completely depends on where you grew up and who you grew up with.
Hmm.
And I just happened to be around a lot of politically active people, and they worked in the government, and so like I think I just grew up around it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. My parents didn't ever talk politics with my brother and I.
Mm.
Ever. I only became politically conscious in like my sophomore year of high school.
Mm.
So before that, I just didn't know what was going on. I knew that Donald Trump
Yeah.
was the president. What does he stand for? I had no idea. Like I just
Yeah.
didn't know.
Yeah.
Wow, I can't get this mic to be what I want it to be. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't figure it out. I feel like I'm too loud. Am I too loud?
No.
I don't think so.
Okay. But yeah,
She didn't answer.
Yeah, I feel like I mean for me, the political aspect, my parents didn't really talk about it. I want to say ISLA and meeting you, Marley, is probably the closest
Yeah.
into the conversations, the more impactful conversations about
Yeah.
what's going on politically I've really had. And yeah, I know I need to read more. That's my summer goal, is just to actually take this in and
Mm.
talk to you more.
yeah, I do have a lot of books that I need to get through. I listen to a lot of podcasts. The other thing is, I just like put on a podcast whenever I'm doing stuff, and I don't know. I like to listen to a lot of more like educational, informational podcasts.
Yeah.
But I can't do that for more than like after I get past like 2 hours,
Yeah.
I can't
yeah.
retain any more
yeah.
information.
And I don't want to sit here and act like I do 24/7.
No, I didn't think you
Like
did.
I'm not constantly reading like anti-racism or psychology. Like that is a
You
part.
can't do it.
I can't do that. Like I also love like silly little fiction books and stupid TV shows. But it definitely it's just who you grew up with
Yeah.
and how exposed you
Yeah.
were to everything.
I will say
Yeah.
I obviously know that like what I'm not seeing is culture and art,
Yeah.
diversity within the culture and the creative community.
Especially for performing arts school. But
Yeah, that's the thing is like this is it's such a goofy situation. It just like doesn't make
Yeah.
sense to me because it's like I don't know, everything about Point Park just like I get surprised every time. Every day it's
Yeah.
something new that surprises me.
Yeah.
That's why I call it. Okay, listen, this is my only original bit that I think is pretty funny. I call the school Point Prank as a joke,
yeah.
and that's what it is. Like every day
Yeah.
it's something
It
new.
is.
That's a Point Prank. You got Point Prank. That's what it is.
That's funny.
Every day.
One working elevator in Lawrence that has
Oh my
That's the
god.
point, right?
that's a prank. We
That's
call
a
it
classic.
my friends and I call it Point Bark, which is like Point Park just sounds really prestigious. Like that's the conservatory.
It
That's your
does.
BA. That's your degree.
It does.
But like Point Park is when you're just trying to go to the cafe and it's closed like 4 hours early.
It's closed on the weekends now.
yeah,
Why
or-
would they close it on the weekend?
Point Park has its
Wow.
own hours. It has its own state of mind. It's never open and closing consistently ever. And
I think it should be its own sovereign country
it should be.
inside of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And it should just, because nothing works like the rest of.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy that I found out the other day? So my roommate is taking a class at CMU, and he was talking about how CMU, like their theater department, they think that Point Park is like the best, like conservatory compared to.
CMU thinks that?
Yeah, compared to CMU and compared to Pitt, they think that Point Park has the best like theater like dance program. And I was like,
I mean, isn't Point Park like a top
I think
5?
the dance may be right.
It's like
dance is right.
Yeah.
Theater?
I read that it was one of the most represented schools on Broadway, though. Like, it's up there.
I think it was like number 9 like years ago. But that's because it's dance majors who are like in the ensemble. It's not like
Actual
you know.
either.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Broadway is like commercial like ensemble dance. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
But like Point
Okay.
Park, like we've been
Point Park.
called radical for like deconstructing Karen. Like,
Yeah.
that's Point Park.
Who called you radical? Were there any in particular people?
Are we allowed to name drop?
Mm.
I don't think we should name drop.
Okay,
don't think
maybe
we
don't
should
name
do
drop
We won't
them,
name
but
drop.
like.
It was an admin person.
Yeah.
It was admin.
Oh, okay, got you. Then
That
probably
called
shouldn't.
us
yes,
radical.
Probably shouldn't
Yeah.
name drop.
No.
I didn't think it was radical.
It was like our flyers too, because we had pictures of like
Yeah.
Kate Gosselin
What
with
fun with
Karen
it?
haircut to promote it.
That's fun though.
I think I
Yeah,
thought it
that's
worked,
fun.
but they're like, yeah, they're radical marketing or whatever, and
This is
Oh.
also older generation of
Mhm.
admin.
yeah, and like that's Point Park because nothing ISLA has done has been radical. Like I don't know what they think radical is, but it's not what we've been doing.
No.
no,
We're
I
just
mean,
not being nice about it.
like, to be honest, I am not. Gee, I still haven't figured out a name for like what my politics is.
Mm-hmm.
But I call out the political left all the time. I think they do some really goofy shit, and so does the political right. And I don't think anything you guys have done is radical.
No.
You guys have brought really interesting conversations to the table, but like, I call out people at this school on the left who do truly like just ridiculous stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, but if it's just an older person, they probably just that's just who they are. Probably, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak for them, but it doesn't really surprise me that it's an older person saying that.
Yeah.
I was expecting it to be students saying that.
We've had a lot of positive feedback from students.
Yeah.
That's good.
Even with some other things, like we had a multicultural fair in March.
I didn't get to go.
It's a good turnout.
Oh, it was a great event.
Yeah.
Good food.
I helped plan it, so
Mhm.
it was
She led
It was
the
good.
planning
yeah.
along with SGA.
Yes, with SGA. But we got a lot of positive feedback, and even
They
after
want more. They want more
after
events like that.
deconstructing Karen, that screening, there was like 10 people that came up to me and Amy, and they were like, "Thank you so much. Like this was great." Because
It was.
the Copa Common Hour, it wasn't mandatory.
Yeah.
It wasn't a require, and they can require it. They
Yeah.
could, but this one specifically wasn't.
Do you know? I don't know if we talked about why, but it's because they took the film to like their lawyers, and the lawyers, I don't know who, Point Park's lawyers said that they couldn't make this film mandatory.
I mean, yeah, there's probably some legal
Yeah.
reason why you can't. That's
Yeah.
that's understandable, but
But we
there was
got
still a
good
pretty decent turnout. Yeah.
There's like over 100 people.
And
Yeah.
good conversation afterwards too. I know
Mhm.
sometimes people watch that and they're just like, "Those women are crazy," but that's not me. Like they completely missed the point.
I
of
had
the
some of those
whole
people show up to
film.
my book club.
That's
Yes, and it's like they're all crazy, but like I've never done that, so
the point is
I
that
got to laugh at it. But yeah,
the point is that it could be you.
and yeah,
The point is that it is
point.
you.
The point-
It is you.
The point is that it is you, and maybe if it isn't you, you're this close to being that.
Yeah,
Like I think that's the whole like story of good and evil in humanity, right?
Yeah.
Like you're this like the people I bring up the same all the time, but like the people in Nazi Germany didn't think that they were being indoctrinated into that.
Yeah.
They didn't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then we like to think that, oh, but that couldn't be us. And it's like, no, but we were them.
yeah.
It could be us like that.
And if it's not you, it's your mom, your aunt, your
Yeah.
grandma.
Yeah.
Like,
In the book, the White Woman book that Regina Jackson and Sarah Rao wrote, they compare that a lot. They're like, just because you weren't like the one actively committing the harm, you being complicit is just as bad. You're watching it and you're saying that's not my problem, and it is your problem. So being complicit is just as bad as being the person who's doing that violence.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that would drive me crazy if I heard people say that.
Oh, it's.
I mean, I've had people say that. Like, I have friends where and I'm not naming anybody because I've told this to my friend. Like, I have a wide variety of political affiliation in my friend group. I told everybody, like, hey, and I, not on that particular topic, but like with the culture war. I'm like, hey, buddy, you're contributing to it too.
Yeah.
It's affecting you. And he's like, oh, yeah, but, or, you know, whoever. They're like, oh, yeah, but it's not. But I'm not gonna. And I'm like, well, why though? Like, it's,
What do you mean by culture war?
I think that a lot of what's happened in our politics is that both sides will make wild mischaracterizations of the other side, and they'll take a very niche group of people, extrapolate it into the entirety of the other side, and then they'll use it to attack them on social media.
So that's interesting that you say that, because like I will say, like, it does happen on both sides, but there's definitely, like, the Republican Party is taking it to more extremes than any Democrat. Like, they're the ones, like, writing the policies, the anti-LGBTQ plus policies.
Elected officials, Republicans.
Yeah, elected officials, yes.
Yes, I would agree.
And that's, like, the dangerous part of it is whenever we take those opinions and make it legislation.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I focus on liberals and conservatives, not Democrats and Republicans.
Interesting.
I like the people that get elected, and this is because I'm kind of cynical, but the people that get elected are put there. I don't think that there's truly any politician right now that represents the American people.
Yeah, because it costs a lot of money to run.
It does.
Be in office.
And I don't think, and I think what's happening right now is a lot of people are looking at the two options, and they're picking the one that seems less evil to them. And as a result, so the thing is, like, whenever I look at what the Republicans in D.C. are doing, that's not my conservative friends. Because I know my conservative friends, and those are not the same people. And I don't think that the Republicans in D.C. represent my conservative friends.
So I have a question for you.
Sure.
Do you see a vote on the Republican ticket, like your conservative friends that do vote for those Republicans? Do you think, like, do you think that reflects their values? Because they are voting for those people who are writing that legislation.
Depends on what they vote for them for. I could vote for a candidate entirely on economic reasons, because if I'm in a bad socioeconomic situation, that could be the thing that's most important to me, because I need to get my family into a better financial situation, so that's why I vote for them. But if LGBTQ issues is the most important thing to me, then yeah, I'm going to vote for the person that is most supporting that. I think a lot of the people that voted for Donald Trump did not vote for Donald Trump because of all the wild shit that he said. I think that a lot of people voted for Donald Trump for a lot of reasons, I think many of which that are very legitimate. Others of which are entirely bullshit, because I think that guy is full of bullshit.
Yeah.
But so, I don't know, I think it just depends on why you vote for somebody. I think there's a lot of reasons. I think it's hard to take somebody's entire platform and say, I'm going to vote for them on everything. Because I'm not going to ever find a politician that has my perfect entire set of values. It's never going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, but what's the alternative as of now in 2023?
There isn't one. There isn't
yeah.
one until we try to get third parties on the ballot, which is what I was trying to do last year. Not as much anymore.
Yeah.
But I do think that we need other options. It shouldn't be. If I had it my way, there would be no R or D next to somebody's name. The two-party system would be gone.
Yeah.
If in my ideal world, that would just be gone. Yeah, but so that's, I guess, and that is a valid question, I think, because that you could easily say that, like, yeah, if you're voting for this person, then are you not co-signing?
Because that's how I personally view it.
Yeah.
That's valid.
I
don't
view it
necessarily
as,
view it
like,
that way.
you saw these issues and it wasn't a deal breaker for you, or like, I know I have conservative grandparents that, like, I have very political, like, activist grandparents, and the complete opposite. And I was talking to them about specifically the election for governor, and they both voted for Mastriano, and I asked them, like, why? Like, he's trying to completely, like, outlaw abortion in Pennsylvania, and right now, like, the Pennsylvania House has all Republicans, so, like, they could pass it if Doug Mastriano gets in office. And they were like, yeah, but like my portfolio is not looking really good this year. I really need that. Like they needed the economic aspect of it.
Mhm.
And for me, it was they looked at me and they looked at their 7 granddaughters and said, your right to bodily autonomy is not as important as what my portfolio is.
Yeah.
And to me, that speaks a lot on what you value, like your morals and how you
Because
value
y'all are the
things.
future. It's actually
Yeah.
y'all's world that he'll be.
Are your grandparents pro-life?
Yeah.
So that's that's potentially why they didn't look over that, but they supported it. I mean, if they're pro-life, I mean, if I was pro-life, I would vote for Doug Mastriano on that instance, because if I think that abortion should be illegal, then yeah, I would vote for the guy that would do that for me. Now, that's not me, but yeah, I don't know. I guess that I view the whole thing as very messy. And I view the whole thing as like we're never going to truly represent people. So I don't really like to look at the people in DC and think that because first of all, I don't think those two things are even synonymous. Republican and conservative aren't even synonymous with each other. We've made them synonymous. I don't know why. Because it's possible to have a liberal Republican or a conservative Democrat. Those things are possible. So yeah, I just don't really like to. I mean, yeah, the people in DC are doing ridiculous stuff. They're doing wild stuff. Everyone's doing wild stuff in DC. I just don't like to think that that's. I don't believe that represents the people in my life that happen to vote or believe similar things that they do.
Interesting.
But that's also, give me a couple years, see how that goes.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean by the culture wars. Like, I see people just in general being very mean to each other on social media, being very disingenuous, not having good faith conversations, even though they claim to.
Oh, I agree with that completely.
Yeah.
And I just talk to my friends and I'm telling them, like, you're complicit in that system. You are contributing to it because it's making you money. And I think that they're better than that. That's the thing. I think that we're better than that. And that part's the part that kind of frustrates me. Like, I don't, and I have friends that are just, and it drives me nuts.
Yeah, I definitely think it's possible. I mean, I feel like that's kind of.
Oh, Christian,
Okay.
bend it upwards. Yeah, if you can. I'm sorry, yeah, try to keep it. You can take the mic and rotate it like. No, turn it away from you again.
It is. So I've been holding it.
No, sorry. Whenever they bend in that opposite direction, that's when they break. So I just didn't want it to snap.
No, but the idea of just us being better humans. That's
Yeah,
what we
I
stand for.
agree. Yeah.
And I think that everyone can just. I was talking to a friend, and she's a philosophy major, and not here, at another school. And she was like, I wonder what's the harm in approaching a one-on-one conversation with somebody and just assuming that they're doing their best as a person. Like, can we allow people. Can we, like, walking in, can we allow people the best representation? If they don't fulfill that, then that's on them. But I think a lot of times we're walking in assuming that these people are going to be a certain way. And in my experience, it's largely not true. But I'm also in a very different situation. I'm aware there's not a single facet of my identity that people can attack in any meaningful way.
Yeah.
It's not a thing. So I'm not expecting everybody to have that mindset because that's ridiculous. You just can't expect that. But I am in the position where I can do that. So that's what I try to do.
Yeah. I mean, mental health. I feel like that also plays a part into it too.
Yeah.
Actually having these healthy conversations comes with healthy habits and having a little awareness of what a healthy conversation looks like is like compassion and empathy and actually listening and letting people finish their answers. I don't think everyone is on the same page about that. And I think it's just in the setting.
A lot of times when you go into these conversations, especially like to tie it back to like deconstructing Karen, people go in, they're like, I'm not racist and I'm here to like fight and explain to you why I'm not. And that just doesn't get us anywhere. Like you're going in with your hands like this, ready to fight anything that I say that might be trying to like deconstruct why you think that. You're just going to fight back. So a lot of times it's just going into conversations, like it's okay if your ego's hurt a little bit. Like I said, when I read the White Woman book, like I had a mini identity crisis because the book called me out in all these different ways. And I was like, damn, I am also the problem. Even like I do the diversity work and I do all this stuff, like I realized I was like, I'm still contributing to a lot of problems. I'm taking the moral high ground on many issues with many people, and I shouldn't be doing that.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
This mic just must be different. Well, it is different, but I just don't know how to get it to
Yeah.
stay in one spot.
Yeah.
I don't get it. So I'm curious then, do you ever wonder are you ever worried that the way that you phrase your side of the argument is putting people on the defensive walking in?
Yeah, but I think when you're talking about issues like this, it's hard to find people who are not going to be on the defensive.
That's true.
It's very, very hard. Even my mom, I'm mixed. My dad's black. My mom, I had this conversation with her. She was just like, but like, I can't be racist. You know, I might, and this was years ago, and she doesn't say this anymore. But like having that conversation of like, just because you have mixed kids and your husband's black, it doesn't mean that you're not part of the problem.
Right.
You not calling out, like my grandparents, they live in a pretty racist town. Like they have Confederate flags. So like
My hometown has a couple of those.
yeah,
too.
and
Not many, but there's a
we've
couple.
tried to voice like we don't like going to visit them because like there's Confederate flags and it's just whatever. And she used to get really defensive about it. Like that's your family, those are your grandparents, that's just where they live. We gotta blah blah blah. But now like, at least since I've been in college, so for 3 years now, my mom and I have consistently been talking about it, and now she's gotten to a point where she actually has like evolved. She understands why maybe we don't want to go to their house. She understands that like she says things and she acts certain ways, and she maybe supports things that may be considered racist, and she's self-aware. But that took years for her, and me consistently having those conversations before she got to that point.
Yeah.
So for a lot of people, it's a multi-year journey, and you need
Yeah.
someone like I was on her. I think at least once a week we would have that conversation. So once a week for about 3 years, we talked about it, and now she's finally at a point where she kind of understands it.
Yeah, it took me a couple years, just in a similar situation but a different topic. Like it took me a couple years to stop engaging with the political binary, for lack of a better word, like the way that I did. Like it took me a couple years to figure out that even if I wasn't contributing much, I was contributing at least a little bit to the exact problem that I was so upset about.
Yeah.
And then just being able to leave. But I agree. I think that, well, honestly, you know who I have some of the best conversations with is Miles Hanna. Like that's my guy. Some of the best conversations I've ever had have been at like 1 a.m. with him in my apartment.
Yeah.
He's cool. He's a genuine person.
He is such a cool dude, but it's like,
He was. Yeah.
That's what I thought.
it's also easier though because we're really good friends.
Yeah.
So we just know that we can, I think there's a certain appropriate level of like care that goes into a conversation like that with someone you don't know. Like a little bit of self-censoring might be a thing, just being more careful. And I think personally, I think we need less of that, but it's easier when you're friends with that person because you don't have to worry about any of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's just the part that drives me insane. Because everywhere, I deleted Instagram off my phone. I'm not planning on re-downloading it until I come back in the fall, just because I guess that I could unfollow people or I could mute people, but it's like all over my feed. And I just see all these people just being mean to each other and just obviously not looking at the entire picture. And also, yeah, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. I'll still do the work. But I'm not going to look at it on social media. I
Yeah,
can't
you gotta
do it.
what you gotta do. I was just talking to people last night where they were just like, yeah, I deleted Twitter. I just can't do it.
Oh my God, I'm never going to go on Twitter ever. I'm never going to go on Twitter. Well, the thing is, like, I'm not going to lie to you. I used to be a big Elon Musk fan. And every couple of months, it's like a little less and a little less and a little less. Because I really liked, at first I really liked him. He seemed interesting. I really liked the idea. I loved the idea of Teslas back then. I still do kind of like the idea of going to Mars to colonize it. I am kind of a fan of that. But I don't know, but then he started.
Not the colonizing.
Well, yeah, that's maybe not a good word to use. But I have a friend who has been on this show, and he did make the argument that, if we fuck up and we destroy ourselves, then we've destroyed the only intelligent life that we know of in the universe. And from a perspective, that is a tragedy that we should try to prevent if we can. So from that perspective, I am a fan. tried to give us a lifeline a little bit, but at any rate. But then Elon just started like engaging in the culture where he was like, oh, but now I'm voting Republican. And it's like, but that doesn't
My bad.
help anything. Even if you don't like the Democrats and what they're doing,
Yeah.
to call them out for being the party of derision and hate, which I guess from a perspective you can look at any political party as having hate as an underlying piece of their platform. But it doesn't help anything. It doesn't make your situation any easier to do that.
Yeah.
So that drives me crazy. And I don't like him anymore. I'm not as much of a fan. If he gets us to Mars, one clap, maybe two. But I can't anymore. I'm not a fan.
Yeah, it's time to stop idolizing these people.
I don't believe we should idolize people at all. Because like it's just on a human level.
They're human.
Human biases. We
Yep.
make mistakes. No one is like 100% perfect, and no one has 100% perfect beliefs either.
Nope.
But
Well, that's interesting. What's a perfect belief? Because that's a bias too,
that-
in a way.
Because I know what my perfect belief is, but it's very
Right.
personal to me, and it's what I personally value.
Yes.
I think everyone believes their beliefs are perfect. I do. I think I'm more right than everyone, but I always have to like check myself a lot. I'm like,
I've actually like abandoned. There are some topics where I just don't.
really?
I think for me, it's actually been more useful to understand where everyone else is coming from than actually have an opinion myself.
I agree with that.
It's the
'cause-
broadcast perspective.
Yeah. As a psych major, my mom hates it because I love to talk about issues with like my more conservative grandparents, just out of genuine curiosity.
That's the
Of
best. That's
just,
the best
like,
approach you can have.
What dots are connecting in your brain that leads you to this decision, or like, because our brains are very different. Like I think like how are we thinking differently?
Yep.
And I love having my mom hates it though because they get defensive. They get
Yeah.
they don't get it. They've called me radical, and I'm really not that radical of a person, but they think I am.
Mm-hmm.
But my mom hates it because she's like, you're just like causing drama and like, blah, 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 blah. I'm like,
You're just
I'm
shifting
not.
things.
I'm not raising my voice. I'm not calling people names. I'm sitting there and I'm listening. They're the ones that are raising their voice and yelling at me and getting
Yeah.
frustrated.
I think there is a right and a wrong way to have that conversation, though. I think if you are leading with genuine curiosity, though,
Yeah.
that's a pretty foolproof way to go about that.
Yeah, because sometimes you just catch people and like they don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why don't you like LGBTQ plus people? They're like, well, it's against the Bible. I'm like, okay, but
Yeah.
like, why does that lead you to like hate so many people? And there's never a clear answer.
It's just because of the mass media. I had a conversation with my dad.
Yeah.
Because my brother had said something about my friend. It was really disrespectful, but it was a learning moment because he doesn't grow up around. I mean, basically, when I grew up was a mostly black and Hispanic predominant space, and everyone is cis, everyone is straight, it's the binary, and coming to a city that's not the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
So I had talked to him about his values and his beliefs about trans people, and I had to talk to my dad because that's exactly where it was coming from.
Yeah.
And it was just a whole back and forth situation of false information that I don't know where my dad got from, but combating it with like the reality of the LGBTQ plus have been pushed out. He thought that they left, that they excluded themselves. I don't know.
Who
and I was just like,
excludes themselves from any society ever?
I was like,
when
no.
did that ever happen?
Hermits might, if they go to live in
Yeah.
a cave. Amy, I'm sorry. I feel like we've been excluding you from this conversation. I'm
No,
sorry. Do you have any thoughts?
I'm like happy to just listen.
Okay.
This is like my bread and butter.
Yeah, I'm like,
Okay.
Marley,
You get me
keep
started on this
going.
topic. I can talk for hours.
no, yeah.
But like going back to the mass media, sometimes I try to engage, and I'm like, it's just like a headline that they read,
You can't.
or they're like, it's so and so because Fox News said this. I'm like, okay, since when? Why are we? I have never once in my life quoted CNN, MSNBC,
No.
any news source.
You cannot do it.
I've never done it. I've never got any of my opinions from them. I've got them from other places. So even when people like I agree with are like, I'm not sure if you watch those videos on YouTube, like the Vice, like feminism versus not like anti-feminist debates. Sometimes it's so frustrating because both of them are just spewing like the most superficial things they've heard
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
Twitter or Instagram or
Oh, who else does
from
those?
wherever.
Jubilee does those, and some
Yeah.
and some of them are really awesome.
Yeah.
And some of them are like, where did you find these people?
Because-
Yeah.
These are just
Yeah.
the CNN watching Fox
Because
News.
sometimes I'm like, I agree with what, like, they have a good general idea, but they
Yes.
just don't have anything to back it up.
No.
And that's what drives me crazy, no matter which side you're on. If you cannot look at me and give me, like, a decent explanation for, like, why you believe things,
Yeah.
like, it's not valid.
I think that's interesting. Because I know that if you look at like age demographics, conservative people are probably going to be older. Like that's probably going to be the largest demographic. But I know that our generation's got plenty of conservatives too, and I think the biggest problem they're facing right now is that too many of them are still watching Tucker Carlson tonight.
Yeah.
Too many of them. And again, I think if you really want to watch Tucker, I don't think I should be telling people what and what they can't watch. So if you really want to,
Yeah.
go ahead.
But if you get your
But-
opinions from there,
But there are so many, and I think that's the problem, is like the political right hasn't figured out that they need to get, and I think they're starting to figure it out slowly, but
Isn't
they
Tucker
need to get,
Carlson a troll too?
huh?
Isn't he a troll? Like, isn't he
Tucker
actually-
Carlson?
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
yeah.
He
And
doesn't actually believe what he says.
a full
No.
moment of transparency and honesty, I will occasionally watch highlight reels because, like, out of context, they're funny as hell.
No, I do the same
I
thing.
hope- Same.
Like sometimes I'll just watch Tucker because he's funny as hell. Like this
Yeah.
guy will he'll defend anything.
You do the
You
same.
could-
I'm just curious. I'm like,
Yeah.
what
I
are
just-
people consuming?
I just gotta know. And sometimes like Gavin will be hanging up. We'll just put on Tucker and just die laughing because this guy will
my
defend
God.
anything you give him. He'll go ahead and he'll go defend it.
Or
It's
some-
amazing.
And like Fox News, and sometimes I don't watch it like to support them, but like some of the things they just argue about is so stupid
It's
that all
hilar-
you can do is
No,
sit and laugh.
I think
we
CNN
took-
does the same thing too, though.
yeah.
took the
CNN argues
Eminem
the dumbest
story,
shit.
and
Oh,
we, like,
M&Ms,
we
that was
brought-
so
We
funny.
like made a skit like in one of our classes. We like brought it to one of our classes,
the
and we
M&M,
like
she's
did
not
a whole
sexy
thing
anymore.
about it. Yeah,
She's not sexy, doesn't wear heels.
woke M&Ms are back. So the green one is back now, but she's a lesbian maybe, and now there's
Yeah.
a purple obese
That's
M&M.
just
so
funny.
we're
Like-
gonna cover that
Yeah.
because it was so funny. I saw someone on Instagram do a skit where like they were the intern behind the camera with the call cards, and they were like,
Oh
they were
my God.
saying it was
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think they just need. I think they're realizing it slowly now is that they need to get young conservative people in those spaces to better represent young conservative people because they
Yeah.
don't have enough of those voices. And I think if we really want to find, 'cause I don't know, I think you can have pundits. I think pundits can represent the people better than politicians can, even though sometimes like. But I think that's the problem with Fox. Like I think the pundits of those larger networks. They can't say certain things. They have to say certain things.
Yeah.
Like they have the network pulling the strings on them. But if you have a smaller independent person, then they can not have that, and they can just better represent people. So yeah,
Yeah.
But
and
no.
That's the struggle we've even had within ISLA is like we would love just to say exactly what we hear, the things we experience.
Yeah.
We just want to say these are the injustices that we're experiencing or we're hearing. But if we do that, we're gonna get in trouble with higher ups. We don't want we don't want ISLA to go away.
Yep.
We don't want ISLA to be buried because we were too. At least right now, we were too bold. I think we could get to a point. None of us will be here if ISLA is a thing in like 10 years, like CAB is. I think maybe that's when they can go more
It's hard.
bold. But like
Yeah.
right now, we're constantly just like, is this a battle worth fighting? Like, is this?
Sometimes it's not.
And there's many times where it's just like, let's just go in the meeting, let's hear what they have to say, and then
Yeah.
let's leave because it's
Yeah.
just it's just not worth it.
And sometimes there's some power in just getting up and saying, "All right, we'll get back
Yeah.
to you," in a
Yeah.
way, like not having to engage with that, because
Yeah.
it gets the burnout happens quick in that
Yeah.
space, real
Real
fast,
Yeah, it
quick.
does.
real fast.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Especially like, I don't know. I try to have that approach where I try to give everybody the best representation. For the most part, I try to hear everybody out. And not a lot of people get mad at me for that. And that's what burns me out the quickest. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand everybody. That's all
And
I want
it's
to do.
hard, 'cause
That's hard to
even
do.
In ISLA, they wanted us to be doing stuff like on the level of SGA. They wanted us to take on these serious diversity issues, and they wanted us to do diversity programming, and which is what we wanted to do.
Mhm.
But they hired us in September, and by then, like I was a PA. Like I got training 2 months before like orientation. CAB gets trained 2 months. SGA gets trained months. They have retreats, and then they threw us in here. and they're like,
Mhm.
okay, when's your first
Mhm.
event? And we're like, we don't
Dang.
know each other. We
Dang.
don't know
Yeah.
what we want. Like, we don't know what like Christian wanted out of ISLA. None of us knew what we wanted to do with our positions, and like we had to fight to take like 2 or 3 months just to like sit, think, and just establish things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we got some like flack because of that.
Yeah.
They wanted us to just because right now we're the only like student organization that does DEI programming for students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael Thornhill isn't here anymore. So as of right now, if they don't rehire someone in the fall, ISLA is going to be the
Mhm.
DEI programming here at Point Park University.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They're putting anti-racism work on a whole bunch of students. Like
Mhm.
I'm a full-time student. I work
Yeah.
off campus. I have internships. I do a lot, and to put like DEI, like the entire university, like culture on
That's too much.
an organization is too much.
Too much for a group of students.
Yeah.
Have you guys started looking for a new advisor yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Good. Yeah, we don't have it. My club, my chapter doesn't have an advisor. I was
Really?
told that I technically didn't need one, and I've looked, and I haven't found anyone yet that would be a good fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I haven't found anyone here.
people here at Point Park, they're burned out too. There's
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
on this campus, they're working 5 people's jobs in one position.
Yeah. So it's just too much.
crazy. Like that's why people like there's such a high turnover rate within admin and faculty
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
of that. People are like they're burning out.
And I technically have an advisor. Like Bridge USA gives us an advisor on the national team. So I don't really need a faculty advisor to
Yeah.
begin with. So, and as soon as I found out we didn't need one, I was like, well, I'm just not.
Yeah.
You know, I have a national advisor that collects all of the data from the other chapters and gives it to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't need that. But yeah, the struggles of running a club.
Yeah.
Oh,
to
don't
say.
get me started.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
it's not.
It's just on the entire campus board.
Yeah, and I like to blame the students for that. Like we were in a meeting and they're like, "Yeah, these clubs are just not doing what they need to do to engage
Yeah.
people." And I'm like, "Are we?" Because like I email people all the time.
Yeah.
We have an Instagram, we post constantly. Like we personally reach out to people and see if they're interested in mentoring. We have an email list that are 100 people long. We send emails all the time. And for admin to think that we're just not putting the work into it, it's crazy.
That would piss me
But
off
it's
so
because they're not
fast.
seeing it,
They're not seeing
and they
it.
don't know how to market our school events and programming
Yeah.
very well.
No,
Well,
the
and it's
university
like our
does
culture.
not.
Like me and my roommate had this conversation last night. We've talked about this like forever. Like in Copa, like you are encouraged to like do 3 shows a semester, like back to back to back. Like they like there's like a time in the middle of the semester where people will be running from they'll have classes all day and then they'll have rehearsal from 5 to 7 and then they'll have another rehearsal from 7 to 10:30 and then they'll wake up and do the same thing the next day. And that's like encouraged. Like there's no
The hustle,
encouragement to yeah.
And that's like white supremacy. Then we've read that in the White Woman book, that perfectionism and this hustle culture, and because now like people don't have time for diversity
Yeah.
work. Like,
No.
the system's set up for people not to engage in these type of issues. Like,
Yeah.
if you aren't protesting, because there are legitimate health and safety risks if you are protesting for different issues.
Mm-hmm.
So you're choosing whether or not you want to put yourself in that situation. Donating money's hard because like I don't make that much money. I'm a college
Yeah, we're
student.
college students.
Groceries is like half of every paycheck that I get, and the other half is just like sometimes I just want to treat myself to like not what's in my kitchen, you know. And
Yeah.
like it's hard. The system is set up for us to not engage in these issues.
Yeah.
So the fact that we have to go above and beyond just to talk about race, just to like address these issues within Point Park, it's what turns a lot of people off from
Yeah.
doing this type of work.
And also, I hear that COVID killed the social life.
Yeah.
That's
I
what
wasn't. I
heard
wasn't here
too.
before COVID, so I don't know. But that's what I've heard from everybody.
And Christian and I were here fall 2020.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa.
And I was in the hotel. Do you know
That's
that?
crazy.
Do you know that the lore of that? Oh, so basically,
Point Park lore.
yes,
Oh my
Point Park
gosh.
lore 2020.
Point Park lore.
So I was supposed to be in Lawrence. I'm not sure
I wasn't there.
you weren't there. There was something about like I'm not sure what, but they said it was the COVID regulations and the ventilation within Lawrence. They couldn't people couldn't really have roommates.
Yeah.
Like if you had a double, 2 people could not live in it for ventilation reasons. So they did a deal with the Hilton Garden Inn in Market Square, like the one across from CVS. And my freshman year, I lived in a hotel. I had 2 queen beds and
That's
a microwave,
crazy.
a mini fridge, my own bathroom, air conditioning. But like I was isolated from campus. They didn't market stuff over at the hotel, so it felt like your own little world, and they didn't want us to socialize our freshman year.
No.
They had no tables out in Village Park. They had no chairs in Village Park. Inside, they like the seats, like they duct taped them and arranged them so they were always 6 feet apart. So like our freshman year, it was so hard to like do anything.
No one.
I feel like it's hard to do stuff now.
It was even harder when we got, because
I
I
know.
have roommates that are seniors, and then they're like, oh yeah, like pre-COVID Point Park is completely different, completely different, and it's just crazy
Man.
to think about it that way.
Yeah. That's tough. I really wish I could have seen what it was like, because now it's just I had trouble making friends when I got here my freshman year, and I've never had trouble with that ever.
Yeah.
And I was like, genuinely couldn't go out and meet people. I was like, where does it happen?
Yeah, and it's hard because like a lot of people in the conservatory, they already know each other when they're coming here.
They come in 5 days early, and then
They
it's like,
know
oh,
each
they
other.
already
Well,
have their friend group sorted
and
out.
like we have all of our classes all day, every day together. Like, I like need to write something about relationships in conservatories, because like you just can't. You have to interact with these people all the freaking time, so you become friends so quick, and you like lose friends so quick because of how much time you spend with each other.
I was a PA, and it was just Pioneer Ambassador.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, amongst everyone, if you had more than like 5 conservatory people in your bison bonding group, you were screwed, because they were gonna click, they were gonna do their thing, and anyone who wasn't in the conservatory, they were gonna be left out.
Yes.
And usually that meant like the people not in the conservatory would just stop going, because they're like, what's the point? Like they already know each other. They have no desire to talk to me. I was lucky that I only had like 4 people in the conservatory, and they were different majors. I had like a film, a dance.
Oh,
acting.
okay. You
So
got
they
away
didn't
with
they
that.
didn't know each other that well. So
Right.
thank God. But my one friend had like 5 dance majors.
Oh, fuck.
And she was like, they alienated her entire group away, because they were just like, they would not let anyone in. They acted like no one else existed.
I feel like that's what every school does, though. I think that's the biggest problem. I honestly think
no, I agree.
we need more organization fairs.
Yeah.
We need more of just I think there should just be, and I get it, like people are busy, they can't show up to this stuff, but I think there should just be a general meeting once a month where all of the student organization leaders just get in the same room together.
Yeah.
And just decide that, hey, can we collaborate on anything at all?
Well, we did start a coalition this year.
We have a very baby version of that we're working
Really?
on. Yeah. You can guys talk about it.
I
feel like
mean,
I've been talking a lot.
Basically, we started with the identity-based organization, so AAPI, Latinx, ISLA,
BSU,
Shalom, and we had a dinner with them, and we kind of talked about our issues as student organization leaders, and that's really sparked a conversation that we kind of transcended into a conversation with Palo.
What are the requirements to get into this group? I mean, I don't know. Does my organization count as an identity-based organization?
See, I don't know. There isn't any.
Yeah, we definitely want to grow and expand it, but we wanted to start baby and start small.
Gotcha.
And then invite more people in.
Yeah.
But I would love to get to a point where it's like every active organization leader can come. Because that's another issue we have on campus. Like even like within the clubs, we're all isolated from each other.
Yeah.
If you're not friends with the people on the executive board, like odds are, like I know at one point like BSU and GSSA both had self-care nights on different nights, and SWSU was planning one, and I was like, we can't have 3 different self-care nights.
No.
Well,
Like,
and especially because resources are so low.
Yeah.
Like from the universities, like put these on. Like big thing that I've been thinking about for next year is like getting 2 groups together to like put something on. Like let's put our resources together and create like one day of a quality event rather than do like 3 different like half-assed events because we can't get the resources.
Because that's what we did with the multicultural fair. We purposely teamed up with SGA so there'd be more money, more resources, and we can make it bigger.
Yeah.
And have it a more quality experience. And for the most part, I say it worked.
Yeah.
But it's also hard though because everyone has different schedules, especially if they're different majors. Like I'm a psych major, so like my schedule's pretty lenient. But I know a lot of people, like conservatory people, and I have some friends in the school of comm that like I don't see for days.
Oh yeah.
which is crazy to me. Like I can just like usually I just have to do readings and like a
lot of papers.
a lot of papers. But
Yep.
like I can do that outside. I can watch TV. I
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of
Anything.
leniency with that work. But I know a lot of my friends, they're like in front of a computer in the computer lab for like 8 hours. a
Yeah,
day trying
School of
to-
Comms, like I have to film an entire project this weekend, and I have to get it
Yeah.
edited and put up, and yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah, so it's once again set up for us to not collaborate. It's very hard. Like even SWG,
Yeah.
our e-board is 11 people.
Holy shit, 11
yeah.
people?
Yeah, thank God. Yes, I love them. But there was not one time for an hour everyone can meet.
Jesus.
So we have 2 separate e-boards. We have one,
Yeah.
and then we have the other for those who miss. Because we have dance majors, we have school of comm, we have psychology.
Yep.
We have a little bit. I think we have every department represented within our e-board.
That's awesome.
And that should be
Yeah,
a goal.
and we take pride in that. But trying to schedule things is so
Impossible.
It's impossible.
I mean, Pitt has one of the biggest Bridge USA chapters. They have 14 people on their executive board. They meet in person every week. I don't know how they do it. They get all
Yeah.
14 people in a room every week.
That's
It's insane.
and next year our e-board's even bigger. Like I think we have a 13-person e-board next year, and it's just
At what
like,
point do you cut it off and like stop expanding it?
we just love when people want to get involved. We're like, yeah, you can have a position. Yeah, of course we want to too. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
No, you're good. Like, I was just going to talk about how we've talked about, like, Point Park has no community.
Yeah.
And also, like, our slogan is, like, career ready. And, like, that's why there's no classes on Fridays. So you can do, like, internships and stuff.
Yep.
But it just makes you, like, squeeze everything,
Yeah.
like, Monday through Thursday. Like, most schools have, like, a common hour. Like, they have, like,
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
X block where, like, there's no classes, there's no meetings, there's no nothing scheduled here so that, like, clubs
Yeah.
could meet, like... You can have
I-
Yeah, we need
school-wide
that.
events.
I know for the sales stuff to like re-register a club, they're like, "What do you want to
The
do?"
re-registration process.
First of all,
this
it was
year.
ridiculously long.
It was so long.
I repeated the same thing on like every page, but they were like, "What do you think we can do to make engagement?" And that's what I put was like a common hour, an
I
hour
didn't even think to put that
every
down.
day where no one has any classes and you can join a club because a lot of times people want to, but it's just like
Right.
I have class, I have to work, I have to do
Right.
this. I had to, like it doesn't fit in my schedule, but there was 1 hour every day that could be dedicated to an organization
Even once a week.
once a week.
Like,
that
Once
would
that's
do
all.
hours.
That's all you need. Once a week.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
If anything, that just means the clubs would be fighting with each other to figure
We-
out like
Right.
what time are we doing what.
We don't even do week. We do bi-weekly stuff. We don't even do week. I'm asking for an hour
Crazy.
every other week. That's
Yeah.
all I'd be asking for.
Yeah, but it's hard.
That re-registration process. They were like, "What do you?" Which is great and all, but like,
Yeah.
Bridge USA already. The national framework is already in place for us. Like, everything's already done.
yeah.
When I walked in, every position already had a Google sheet with all of their roles and responsibilities. So it's like, I'm just typing, like, see attached documents. Like
Yeah.
but I did that once and I was like, I can't do this every time. I have to just bullshit something.
Yeah.
So, and at the end it was like, what did you think of this? And I was like, if this
It
is
was
for a
too
new,
long.
if this is for a new club, forget about it.
Yeah.
If it's for an existing club, yeah, they can get this information together for you. But a new club isn't gonna have any of this. Like my club was a semester old whenever I did this, and if I didn't have that stuff from the national organization, a lot of things would have been blank.
Because one of my closest friends is taking over SWC next year, and they're like, "What do you want to?" And another close friend, they're both doing it,
Yeah.
and they're like, "We want to tell your future, whatever." I'm like, I could text them right now.
Yeah.
Tell them all this
Yeah.
stuff. Like I don't need to write
Tell 'em.
paragraphs about. Like I can just call them and be like, "Hey, this is what you need to do next year," and they would listen.
Yeah.
But like that's just like what we were talking about, like the hurdles that we have to go through and all the barriers, because like once again, that's how it's set up.
Yeah.
It's because it turns people off.
Yeah.
And it can't be every school because, like I said, Pitt's chapter, they pull in like 40 people per event.
Yeah.
Well, our reasoning for Point Park is that it's a young school and we're still working out the kinks.
And our location.
Yeah.
The location is, I mean, to be honest,
Pittsburgh is my campus.
I don't want to say it's a dumb location because I love the city,
Yeah.
but it's kind of a dumb location to have a school.
Yeah.
I think we're the guinea pigs, though. That's the
Yeah.
thing.
Kind of dumb.
I like for bus stop wise.
Yeah.
We don't have free bus
Yeah.
passes.
Yeah.
We will
That's
next
crazy.
semester.
Allegedly, Dr. Soto said that last summer. Were you guys in that
Yeah,
meeting
to
where
the
he
ISLA
was like,
people.
"Yeah, we're gonna have it for the fall," and now we went this whole year.
Well,
So, but
Like,
like,
imagine if we had grass. God, What I would
I
give
have
for
to
some
go-
grass to sit on.
I did.
Had to go to the point to get some
I
grass.
did like this focus group for Dean Palo for like something, and they were like, "Well, how do you like? Do you feel safe, or like where do you go if you just need to like be alone?" And I was like, "I power walk to the point. I sprint to the point because once I'm there, it's like you're fine. You just gotta
Yeah.
get to the point. But when you have to like go through like Stanwix and it gets kind of like you just gotta mind your business and power walk until you can find some grass.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, sorry.
a mission
I'm
before you
sending a
relax.
text real quick.
oh, all good, all good.
This is so bad for the viewers. I'm sorry. I'll try to keep talking while I send this.
Or we can
Grass
talk
would be
amongst
nice. Power
ourselves,
walking to
okay.
the point is
Yeah.
that's so real.
Yeah.
That's me all the time. I'm just I want to get some sunshine. I want to get something.
Just gotta.
Yeah.
Because Village Park gets packed. Like once it's warm.
Oh, it's
It only gets
I love
like
seeing it full though. I
3
do.
hours
Yeah.
of sunshine or something though.
yeah.
But you can't like, okay, I keep bringing this up, but like my roommate was at a CMU class yesterday and he was just so sad when he came home because he just like walked through Pitt and CMU's campus. And there was
Yeah.
just like
Oh,
hundreds
yeah.
of people like
Yeah.
out on the grass, like hammocks. They've got their guitars. They've got like, and like Village Park is nice, but like you can't do anything in Village
Yeah,
Park.
and it's like a game of Survivor trying to get a table.
So true.
I know one time I got a table. I was sitting there and I'm a chatty person. So if my friends come sit with me, I'm not gonna get anything done. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna read.
No,
I'm not
that-
gonna do anything.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sit and I'm gonna
That's-
talk.
That's
Um,
yep.
So as much as I love my friends and I will let them sit next to me because I understand like they just need to put their stuff down. They just want to sit somewhere. I'm like I'm not gonna get anything done.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I'm just gonna sit here and talk with some people.
I have to lock myself in like the one person study room in the library or in my
Yeah.
room in my apartment to
Yeah.
get anything done because
Yeah.
the second anybody comes over,
I'm talking.
Uh-huh.
I am
too.
talking. Like last night, I went over to my friends. We just had to like talk about one thing.
Yeah.
I was there till like 4 a.m. I got there like 11, and we were just talking the whole night. Like we
Yep.
didn't do any. We sat in the same spot just
Yes.
talking.
Yeah.
It's very dangerous.
You should start a podcast then because that's all
Yeah,
it is.
Mars.
Oh my god, I love to talk. Please.
That's all I get to do whenever I do this. I just get to talk to
Give me
people.
a topic.
Yeah.
You get to pick it. That's the best part too.
You do.
I have so many niche interests. I feel like it would just be a lot. It'd be a lot.
Yeah, I
But
have.
wouldn't it be so close and tied into your major though?
True.
branding-wise?
I'm trying to be a therapist, so I guess my
That
whole
would be
career is
great.
going to be talking
Yeah.
to people.
Yeah.
So it works out.
I've tried to walk in. If I don't walk in here with a topic in mind, it's a mess.
Like
It's so bad. It's so bad.
if you let me, I will talk for 2 hours straight about what
Who knows?
we'll figure it
Yeah.
out as we go. But if you don't give me like very specific talking points,
Oh, and like what's funny is like there's a little timestamp button
Uh-huh.
on here if you're doing audio only. You can just mark like what the topics are. And for about a week, or no, for about like a month, I tried to do it, but I was hitting the time. I was like every 5 minutes it's a new, and I was like, this
Yeah.
is just I can't do it. It's too
Michael Thornhill needs his own podcast.
He does.
he
That man.
you could ask him like, "Hey, Michael, how's your day?" And then it'll end up talking about like Jim Crow laws in the
Yep.
1960s. Like it's
Yeah.
And we're like, how did
crazy.
we get here?
Like,
It's like at
Michael,
the
I
end of the
don't-
day.
Anyway, at the end of the day, he has ADHD, so he'll always be like, "Sorry, ADHD." I'm like, Michael, we just sat and listened to you talk for like half an hour,
Yeah. Yeah.
and never complaining about it.
And
Like,
you
it's always
never
good
know,
stuff.
and you always forget where the starting point was. You never know how you
Yeah.
got to where you current, and that's the fun of it. You just don't. But I find that like if I do that, it's worse for me though because I'll just like if no one's there to stop me,
Yeah.
5 hours gone. Not actually that much,
Yeah.
but it's so I have to bring myself with like guiding topics or questions.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I can't do it. It's a mess. It's too much.
Because we all three of us like to talk, so sometimes
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
a lot of times Christian's like, "We have to focus." I'm sorry, but like Christian's always
I
the
don't want
bad.
to fight it.
know.
I don't want to fight it, but we
Christian's
have
always-
to.
Christian's
Yeah.
like, "We have stuff to do today. We have to stay on time."
That's him sometimes. He's like,
Okay, executive
get something
director.
done 'cause
Yeah.
he just keep talking.
Oh, it's rough.
It's fun though. I mean, like I don't know. That's how I recharge my battery though, because I'm really extroverted. So
Oh,
that is how I like. That is
See, I'm an introvert, which
Yeah.
I feel like
Really?
it doesn't make sense.
Well,
Yeah.
I-
Introvert too.
I've been realizing that like one-on-one conversations can be
Yeah.
like recharging for me. Like I
Yeah.
thrive on one-on-one
Yes.
connection, but like, anything more than like one person, like that will drain me.
really
Yeah.
Mhm.
dang. Okay. Well,
Same.
how much time you got left?
no.
We've had some powerful conversations.
We
today,
have.
though.
Yeah.
Us three this year. It's a good little.
It's the
bonding moment.
best. That's honestly that's. I've always thought I had this like crazy idea last night. Was it last night or was it 2 nights ago? That because I of course started seeing election ads and I'm not prepared. I'm already like it's already too much. I've seen one and it's too much.
Yeah.
But I thought, you know. And then on top of that, I saw that Trump went on the Full Send podcast a second time.
Oh God.
We watched it.
Yeah.
His entrance was the funniest thing. He just stood in the doorway and was like this grand entrance. But I was like, you know what? People are gonna get the most authentic, because I always think that podcasting is the most authentic version of whoever is sitting down. You can't be a fake person for 3 hours. You can't do it. Eventually, it's going to drop and your real self is going to come out.
I don't think you've ever talked to theater majors before.
No, they might, and that's why. Well, you know what? That's why I'd be curious. Like, could that be a thing? Probably.
I think 3 hours would work still. I think you would have to fold.
You would fold. I mean, I don't know.
I know some theater majors. I
don't know.
But sorry.
But at any rate, I was thinking people are going to get the most authentic version of Trump now in this long form conversation, because there's no 5-minute news segments. There's no, he's him and he's just going to talk.
Yeah.
And surprise, surprise, he's the same as ever. Slightly exaggerates everything, bullshit, funny as hell. I think he's funny.
No, I think
he's funny to me, dude.
I do not like him. I disagree with a lot of his policies and what he did, but sometimes you just have to sit back and be like, "You idiot."
And just listen. It's just he's so he's an entertainer first.
Yeah.
And then he's a businessman, and then he's a politician. But anyway, so I was thinking it would be really cool if the RNC and the DNC did not elect the person. Like, they should obviously elect who they're putting up, but then they should also elect somebody. Essentially what I want is I want the presidential candidates to sit down for a podcast, and the RNC and the DNC elect a person that they believe will best represent them in a conversation with that person. Because that's what I thought is, like, you know, the Nelk boys were asking Trump questions that I would want to ask Trump. Like, if I was in that situation. So I think it would be cool if the American people could represent the person that they would represent them best in that conversation, and then sit down with Trump and Biden. Sit down with them for 3 hours, and let's just see.
I would love to talk to Biden for 3 hours. Oh my God.
Do you think he would make it through? That's a genuine question.
I feel like we would have to take a little break. We would have to take a break. But I feel like it would be a lot of fun.
I think it would be
Be a
great.
good conversation.
I would love to. I don't know if he would make it through the whole thing, though. He might need like a translator of some sort. The one that just came out of him at that event, when I think somebody hit like the factory reset button halfway through a sentence, because it was baffling. I like honestly, I don't like, as much as I just made that comment, I really don't like when people kind of make fun of him for that, because like the guy's old. He needs to get out of there. He's old. He needs to get out of there and go spend the rest of his life with his family, just being a regular person. And I don't want old politicians anymore in general. Like, I think that old people have a valuable perspective in the fact that they have a lot of life experience, and they're growing up in a changing world just like ours. It's changing in different ways, but not as a politician. And I just think the guy needs to go. I think Trump does too. Like, these old people just go home. We'll let you know if we want a
Me
perspective.
Personally, I don't want anyone in office who is alive pre-civil rights. That's like a little.
But if they were,
they're still old.
that's true. Yeah, even if they were supporting it, they're still old.
I love Bernie Sanders, but my man needs to retire. I love him, but like.
I was pretty disappointed by him.
Really?
Yeah. There was something.
We don't have to get too deep into this.
No, just very quickly. Like, I don't know. And I've told Gavin this. There was something just about leading. Like, this guy built the biggest political grassroots movement, and just to lead them right to Hillary 2 times in a row.
Yeah.
Like, come on, dude. Leave. Like, leave. Take your people with you. Go show. Like, I don't know. That part was just kind of frustrating to me. Like, to lead them all to Hillary.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like he got duped by Hillary, came back again, got duped by Biden. And it's like, I just lost a little bit of respect there. But at any rate, yeah, bro's too old.
Yeah.
Too old.
Bro's too old.
He is.
Way too old.
I hate to say it, but the guy's too old. A lot
Am
of
I
them are too
being
old.
ageist? Maybe. Maybe. But
But I'm okay. Like,
I think some people deserve to be bullied.
Ageist? is
Okay. Yeah. I was talking
Agreed.
about this
Some
yesterday.
people are delusional and they need to be told that.
this whole ageist thing. I understand where it comes from, but to me, it's
Yeah.
like, are we going to deny reality that at some point a person is just not as good at their job anymore because
Yeah.
they are old?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I can't wait to retire. And I didn't even start a career yet, and I cannot wait.
Who are you telling? I want my farm.
That's
Farm.
true. That farm all the time.
The farm. What are you going to have on your farm?
Um,
Have you like planned? Is this a
Christian
thorough,
wants to go
a
like
thorough
off
plan?
the grid.
Yeah. It's gonna be somewhere in the Caribbean,
Okay.
probably
Yep.
back home. with
I
my
haven't heard
family.
this plan.
Well, it's rough, but
Okay.
my dad's from Panama, so the hope is to buy some land back on Panama's land.
Mm-hmm.
Just enough space for my family, and then anything really. I really don't know about the, what's it called, cattle. I'm really
Yeah.
here for the orchard, the fruits. And
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah, something about
Cute little fruit farm.
vegetables. Yeah.
a little. That sounds nice though. I have actually heavily considered just ditching society and
I
going
think
to
about
live
that all
off
the
away
time.
from everything.
Because like diversity work, I love it, but a lot of times it's just like constantly an uphill battle.
Yeah.
Nothing's easy.
Yes.
Everything
That's-
you have to fight.
I'm in the same boat.
Pave the
yeah,
way.
and like if I hear, listen, I hate like young people are the future. Like I get it,
Yeah.
but the amount of people are like, but like you're gonna change it. I'm like, I am one person.
Yeah,
I
it's
am
not
one person.
just us. It's
That
not
like
just
I get
you.
told like the American Psychological Association has so much baggage, and there's a lot of racism and eugenics, and there's a
Yikes.
long history of oppression within psychology as a field. And my grandparents are like, yeah, but like you know that, and you're gonna change that when you enter it. I'm like,
That's a lot of pressure to
I'm
put on
I'm
one
a
person.
singular person,
Yep.
and the APA is a multi-million-dollar institution. Like I don't
Yep.
know, like if me individually have that power to change it. I like the energy though.
Is there any national organization that is doing the work that is there any like nonprofit that's doing the work that ISLA does that you guys would consider sort of merging with?
We haven't even thought about
No.
that.
Well, I know we talked about the NAACP
Yeah,
a little bit.
We did.
Because like I
But-
mean like the Strong Women Strong Girls thing, like that's a national organization, so it's not just
Yeah.
you. Like you
No,
are. And do you engage with other chapter leaders?
Yeah, there's one at Pitt, RMU,
Awesome.
Chatham. There's people in Boston too.
Is there any sort of like national like get together that you guys do?
Not national. I know Pittsburgh. We have training together.
Okay, that's cool.
Usually we'll go to like we went to like CMU, and it was every person in SWSG who could make it. And
That's
we got
awesome.
I got to meet other chapter directors. We had
Yeah.
a group chat.
That's cool.
Because our home office, sometimes we're just like, what's going on? What do they want us
Yep.
to do? I'm lost. They sent us this very vague thing, and I don't know what they need from me. So that has been really beneficial.
Yeah.
But even then, like SWSG, there's baggage there too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of issues within it that.
The national get-togethers for like we went to the national summit for Bridge USA in Orlando, and that was huge.
Yeah.
Like just being able to meet all the people from around the country. Like I met a kid from Oregon State. It was so cool. There was a table of like two guys from Oregon State, somebody from University of Tampa, us. And it's like I would never have met these people
Yeah.
otherwise. There's
Yeah.
just no way. And there's also not really a reason for us to all sit down at the same table together because life in Oregon is very different from here and it's very different
Yeah.
from Florida.
Point Park is its own ecosystem.
It's its own
Oh,
country.
yeah.
Compared to other colleges.
Yep.
Holy crap!
Completely different.
It's. I don't know why. Like, I don't even know if we're a college. It feels just like a little cult sometimes. I'm like,
It's a collection of small cults, is
yeah,
what it is. It's like
it
every
really,
school.
Oh my god, it really is though.
Every
'cause-
school is its own little bubble.
Yeah.
I get these like really big delusional plans that I'm gonna try to execute over the
I love
summer.
delusion.
But I do want to try. Well, I originally had a plan. I still think I want to do this. I wanted to start an organization that's sort of like UView or WPPJ, like a student-run media organization whose only purpose was to get all of the student podcasters in the same room to get them an RSS feed so that their clips could be played on TVs or on campus, so that students actually know that that's a possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you could expand it into clubs
Yeah.
and put clubs in the same space so they could collaborate on stuff.
Maybe
just
a coalition for some podcasts.
Yeah, like that's I wanted a club
Yeah.
that would just be for all the podcasters that you could then expand into all of the clubs, all of the media institutions, COPA. So like okay, like if COPA students are in a show, they should be able to go to a place. They should be able to get appearances on podcasts if they want to, appearances on WPPJ. They should get just something with
Yeah.
student media. Get the Globe to write a piece, just something.
Mm-hmm.
And then same thing for clubs. If a club has a big event, just go
Yeah.
to the space. Hey, who wants to collaborate with us on this? And just
Yeah.
get as many people as possible. That's
Like,
the
yeah.
idea. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but I really want it to.
It sounds possible.
It sounds very possible. Like I'm not a comm student. I just found out what UV was like a few weeks ago. We were watching the SGA debates, and I was like, "What is UV?" Like I have friends in
Oh,
it,
yeah.
but like I don't know what they do. And
That
then
was fun.
We went there. Did you moderate?
I
it?
moderated that, yeah.
It was a good debate.
I thought it was good.
yeah.
I didn't. There was even no debate at this point. I was like, I walked in knowing that all three candidates had the same platform. So I was
Yeah.
like, we're just going to essentially do a podcast. That's essentially
Yeah.
what we did. It wasn't
Yeah.
even a debate because there's nothing to debate because your
Yeah.
platforms are identical.
Yeah,
So-
but like I have friends in UView, and they would talk about it. I just never knew. And then like I watched my first episode of UView. I don't know what show, like 3 weeks ago.
I don't think I've ever actually watched a full episode.
I was like-
I'll be fully transparent. I don't think I've ever watched a full
I
episode.
like worked a camera,
Yeah.
like my like second week of freshman year,
Mm.
I did too.
and then the theater major swallowed me whole.
Consumed everything, all of
I
it.
still have.
I might have to dip soon because they're saying there's a meeting I need to be on, and I don't know. I don't have an invitation. For
Yeah,
it.
same.
No. Should we wrap up?
We should.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
Sorry.
No,
They're
it's
like, "Where
okay.
are
No,
you?"
it's
I'm like, "What do
okay.
you mean, where am I? I didn't get an invitation to this meeting." And then like, "Here's the link." I'm like, "Oh well,
oh no.
I'm 5 minutes late." So
Not the impromptu. Okay, we'll wrap this up. Thank you so much. This was so much fun.
yeah.
We got to do this. Wait, are any of you graduating?
no.
Okay, we'll have to do this next semester then.
Yeah.
We're also
I would love
here,
to do
we're
this
all
again.
Here over
We're
the
here all summer.
Ooh,
Yeah. So this is a good.
I have a couple of summer slots open.
I'll just come and talk. I can do that.
Okay.
It's very easy. All three of us, we could just come and just like talk
Just
for a couple
chat.
hours.
I would love that. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I like the guys. I like the work that y'all are doing. Keep it
Thank
up,
you.
please, because it's
you.
important. Those conversations are important. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Peace out.
Bye.